Welcome to I Change the Narrative, a podcast for and about Black men inspiring, supporting, and empowering Black men and Black boys. This episode of I Change the Narrative is sponsored by So Organic, So Suave, also known as Sauce. Sauce is a luxury hair care and skincare refuge for those with thick hair and melanin-rich skin, from healthy beard growth to top of head hair styling to an illuminating skincare regimen. Sauce Essentials will naturally enhance your outer appearance to strengthen your inner confidence. Sauce invites you to accept the authenticity and real self-care and embrace your best. You can find Sauce's award-winning grooming essentials online at sossd.co. Again, that's sossd.co. You can also follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. Elevate your grooming with Sauce today. Today's show is dedicated to Black boys around the world who color outside the lines, who dream of pursuing that which is different and that which society says that you can't do. For today's conversation, we're talking to entrepreneur and watchmaker Marcel Benson of Benson Watch Company. Welcome, Marcel, to the conversation.
Thank you, Nika. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Before we start the conversation, I want you to introduce yourself to our guests and talk about the work that you're involved in.
Okay, yeah. So my name is Marcel Benson, founder of Benson Watch Company. I started this watch company just sheerly out of my passion for watches. I went the traditional route. Like I went and went to school, worked, got a good job, and I realized that I was in a space where I wasn't really happy or like fulfilled or excited to wake up and and go to work. I felt like I didn't really have much purpose, in my life, even though from the outside looking in, things were pretty okay. So one day I decided to just spontaneously quit my job and pursue my passion, for watches. And I came up with the slogan that time should be spent doing what you love, because it was my way of, metaphorically showing people the way right through my story, also inspiring the masses to spend their time doing what they love, whatever that may look like to them. So, the journey was, rocky, definitely had some highs and lows, but we're in a place now where we've, achieved great success. We've had, celebrities wear our watch, talk about our watches. We've been written about in some of the, largest publications like the New York Times, Town and Country magazine, and even made several national television appearances. So, things are going really well. And I definitely would say that it's attributed to, making that decision, to leave. So that's Benson in a nutshell. But I'm excited to get into this conversation with you, Guernica, to see what else we can pull out.
Thank you so much. So tell us about, we don't normally hear of Black men and watches and pursuing the dream of watchmaking. Tell us how that started. Like, where did that love come from?
Yeah, we don't see a lot of things, Guernica, with Black men, right? There's a lot of things that we're told that we can't do, whether it's directly or indirectly, covertly or in our face. There's always something that we're kind of being like ostracized from or kept out of. And the reality is that if you look far enough in history, there's a story or an example of us usually being the first to do something.
Yes.
So it's like it's kind of like this inverted society where we're kind of looked upon as close to bottom of the barrel or whatever. But in reality, we are inventors, we're innovative, we're creative, we're all these amazing things. And typically, when we get involved in something, we improve it, we take it to the next level. So it's no different, in the watch world, right?
Mhm.
Watchmaking, historically they would say was, a Swiss trade, but there are countless stories,
Yeah.
um, of the clock and and watches being invented, of course, by a black man. So we have that history behind us. We have that that ability, and I was actually recently invited back to Germany. I spoke during the pandemic in Germany at a watch conference called Inhorgenta, and it's like the second largest watch conference in the world. And when I was there, that's when it really became apparent to me that there's just really no expectation
Mhm.
for us. I was out there. I was literally the only black person in the entire auditorium, and and I spoke candidly about how it's crazy that there's just nobody that when I was growing up collecting watches that I could look to and say somebody like me like created this.
Mhm.
Like everything we do, we like our style, right? Us as black, we like our swag or whatever. We want to look good when we go out, but we don't really have a lot of options that we can look to, that keep that dollar circulating within our community, and that provides that intrinsic value of us, just being proud that one of us was the people that created it. So I thought about that younger boy, that 12-year-old Marcel, that was so fascinated by pieces, but always had to like go and get it from somebody outside of our community. So I told myself one day that instead of just consuming these things, that I would one day be the person to create them. So
Mm.
that's what I'm doing, and there's plenty of opportunity out there, and in this space and in various spaces for people that look like us.
I'm glad you said that last piece, that there is plenty of opportunity out there, that look like you, that are able to consider this as a pursuit, a dream, a vision. Thank you for that. So a lot of us do not know that this term watchmaking, the technical term is horologist. Is that correct?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah, you pronounce that correctly. Like I said, depending on who you're talking to, it can be interchanged.
right,
Some will call a watchmaker someone who just repairs watches, and a
right.
horologist is like the builder of them. So it can be interchanged sometimes, but there are some nuanced differences, to the two titles. Both requiring some sort of like either schooling or apprenticeship to get the title.
Okay. Thank you for that. What aspect um, appeals to you the most?
um about the entire why to me, I think the design, like I said, I think of myself more as a designer,
Hmm.
and what appeals to me the most is really um merging the two worlds of super high end luxury and products that are affordable or accessible to most people, and that idea or that ethos or way of thinking came from me being young. Like I said, I started collecting when I was like 7 years old to the age of 25. I'm 32 now, and obviously I stopped collecting once I started my company. But
Right.
when I was collecting, like a lot of the pieces that I gravitated towards the most were pieces that were like way out of my price point, and I couldn't understand why like design had to be so wrapped up. Like a nice looking piece had to be so wrapped up in price point. So
Right.
I'm like, wow, like are 20, $30,000 or 10,000 like the only way that a watch can like look nice? Because like I would, oh, I like that one, and but it would always, without fail, it would be that one that I like was I couldn't afford it.
Hmm.
So I always kept like aesthetic in mind. So that's what I like the most about it. It's like, how do I bring that high end aesthetic to, to all of my pieces,
Hmm.
to make a person that's wearing a, 200 or, $100, $300 watch feel like they're wearing one that costs about $10,000.
Right, right. Where did that inspiration come from? Because it has to come from somewhere.
The inspiration to
To make watches for your love of watches. I mean, a gentleman in your life inspire you, place, their first piece and give you
yeah,
their first piece or whatever?
yeah, there's definitely an origin to it. So it was actually my parents gifted me this silver. It was like a Kenneth Cole watch, silver case, square case, and
Hmm.
I just love that piece. Like if you look at a lot of my childhood pictures, like I was the one kid that was always wearing a watch, and that's what kind of like sparked my interest in it. I don't know. I don't. There's not a specific thing,
Right,
but I had to pull it, and it would just be like it just looked nice. It made
right,
me feel. I don't know. It made me feel like sophisticated. It made me feel like more.
right.
And um, and like from there I just started collecting. Like I had everything from calculator watches to
Wow.
watches, you name it. Like I had one of the first fossil watches with the digital counter on the back. I had this DKNY piece, which is actually what inspired the look of like the Apple Watch. A lot of people don't know that. But it's if you look at this, it's a DKNY. I can't remember the exact model, but uh,
Hmm.
it looks almost exactly like the Apple Watch, but it has like red, like digital,
Hmm.
and that was probably like my favorite from from all the pieces that I've had.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was just like I said, the gift from my parents. When I was
Hmm.
7 years old, that really kicked off this love for watches.
That's awesome. As you started to create and design watches, did you ever imagine yourself creating a brand?
So I wasn't like designing. I didn't start designing until I decided to start the brand. But
Okay.
when I was collecting these pieces, no, I didn't. I didn't. I had no idea I would start a watch company. It was literally something that came as an epiphany. Like I was literally sitting um, at a table because, like, I say that I left my job and I went and started with the watches, but the company was already in existence, right? I already started the brand prior to like working in corporate,
Okay.
but I wasn't full time in it. Like I might have been selling like maybe like two watches a year or something like that. It was super, on the side,
Oh,
but
got
it was at the point that I quit my job that I decided that this was going to be my life and I was going to do it full time. So,
it.
um,
Hmm.
I just want to make sure that there's some clarity around like the timeline of like how things got started.
Got
But
it.
when I started it, I was in this at the dinner table with my roommate, and we had some friends over, and we were just like all just kind of congregating and talking about all these dreams that we had and these things that we wanted to accomplish. It was mainly possessive though. Like it was mainly like possessions that we wanted to,
Right.
like how you sit around and talk and dream.
Yes.
And it was in that moment where I was like, we have all these lofty dreams. Like how are these things actually going to come into fruition?
Right.
And then I started thinking about like I want to be like I want to like start a business. I
Hmm.
was like, I don't want to work forever. And because coming out of school, that's what everybody was going to do is just go work.
Right.
I decided I was like, I'm gonna start a watch company, and like everybody kind of like looked at me like, okay,
Right.
but I knew that all I had to do was say it out loud, and then I remember the next day, like I went to the store, I went to Michael's, and
Hmm.
I bought like a sketch pad, like like something similar to this, um,
Right.
without the lines, and I got some coloring pencils. And my roommate even teased me about it because like he he called it my coloring book because I used to just be in the room like just sketching, different designs and just trying to come up with different, colorways for the pieces. Um,
Right.
none of those earlier pieces I ever used in the collection, but it was that, that inspiration and following up on, or acting on an idea that really, provided me with the momentum I needed to move forward. So,
Wow.
um,
Wow.
yeah, I know that was a mouthful, but that's
Oh.
that's the gist of it.
What okay, so I know there were roadblocks. Can you talk about some of the roadblocks that you faced in your industry as you were either forming your company, growing your company, the people that, conversations that you may have come across that didn't go so well in your pitching and things of that nature?
Uh there's too many roadblocks to name, like, as we sit here, but
Hmm.
I definitely say, like, locating a good manufacturer is, it's a very tough time. Uh,
Hmm.
it can be easy, but sometimes you're going to take losses far more times than you'll win initially.
Yeah.
Um, and I never like to project anything onto anyone, right? Like, because
Right.
I do believe that we all have separate experiences.
Hmm.
So I do like to just say that, my experience has been, and then kind of like still leave it, because I never want to like taint like what entrepreneurship is for somebody that's excited to get out there, right?
Right.
'Cause it can be easy, right? But there are also some things from my experience that have been, extremely difficult. Like I said, locating a manufacturer that has integrity. Early on, you kind of approach business with like these like rose-colored glasses and a bit of naivete, and
Hmm.
you're not really super aware of like all the things that go into it, and you're moving purely on like adrenaline and excitement, which is good because you don't want to lose that excitement. Um,
Hmm.
there does come a time where you have to be very, um, you have to make really good decisions, because the decisions can impact the next move.
Hmm.
I'll just tell you a quick story about how I had a manufacturer that I didn't really vet, and I wound up sending them money, and they sent me pieces initially, so I'm thinking that they were cool. And then when I go and get a larger order, they just took the money and ran off. And you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. That was put into, to making this happen. And then now I have uh, you know customers and stuff that I have to try to explain it to, and
Right.
just a lot of things, all because I didn't do the due diligence of um, really vetting the manufacturer to see what their reputation was. Some of the telltale signs are like how they accept money. Like, if
Hmm.
you can only wire them money, then chances are there's some things there. There should
Hmm.
be multiple ways to pay.
Right.
Um, and then there's the inner battle, which I think is the most important thing, because, right, like, we have a ton of information out there to teach us how to do all the things that we want to do,
Right.
but um unlike a job, unlike school, unlike anything that has structure,
Hmm.
entrepreneurship is something that you have to get up and do on your own every single day.
Mm.
And that's not something that can necessarily be taught. it
Hmm.
um it's a mindset and a lifestyle and a commitment that you have to kind of like make and evolve into. And um and yeah, so I would say that your inner world is the biggest roadblock. if
Hmm.
you if you can focus on like knowing that there's always a solution or a way out of something, there's also always, or usually, a way to prevent things. If you keep those two things in mind, as you're growing and approaching things,
Hmm.
but also still not being afraid or scared away by those things, then you have the, um, I would say, you'll be equipped to kind of like navigate those roadblocks.
Wow. Wow. So, how did you recover from this? Did you have a team of people to help you out? What was that like recovering?
Just full transparency to people who had like pre-ordered, and just just told them what the situation was,
Mm,
and you know, putting my own money in. It was messy, but
right.
um, it was a moment in time, and obviously talking about it now, I
Mhm,
can I can speak to it with a lot more resolve and calm. But um, during that time, it was just a very stressful and frustrating thing.
mhm,
It definitely had me, contemplating, some decisions, and if this is something that I wanted to continue to do.
mhm.
But here I am, some years later, and things have completely turned around, and there are things that I couldn't even imagine that are taking place in my life right now. So
Right.
um, like staying the course, and just kind of like staying committed to that thing that you desire, or that you love, or you're passionate about. um,
Mhm.
just because you love something doesn't mean that it will be completely easy. So don't get um,
Absolutely.
confused by something not working out the first time, or not going as you might have envisioned it. But just understand that if what you're working towards is something that you value, and the market values it, that it'll work itself out if you stay committed.
Right. Absolutely. So as I was thumbing through all my research, and I looked at, some interviews and read up on about you and your company,
Mhm.
you seem to be very, very humble. What keeps you grounded?
Ah, wow. So I think that thank you, by the way.
No
Um, I
problem.
I think that what it is just understanding, um, and really having a strong understanding of like my inner world,
Mhm,
and um, and knowing. And when I say my inner world, I mean like spiritually understanding that we're all the same.
mhm,
We're all connected, and we're all made of the same thing. And
mhm,
somehow along life, right? Like there's been these tiers that have, these invisible tiers and pedestals, that have been like inserted in our lives to kind of like, like separate, us as a people.
mhm.
So I look at it as like there's never a time where I'm like higher or lower than anyone.
Absolutely.
That's kind of just how I operate. Like the person who's like who's cleaning up our warehouse is no different than the person that's able to give me $5 million in equity investment, right?
Mhm,
um we're all from the same thing. We're all the same energy, um with unique backgrounds, but it doesn't take away from our humanity. So
mhm,
that's my approach. It's really that simple. It's just like you're no different or better than anyone.
mhm,
This is just a unique choice and decision or path that you're on. And it's your design. I'm made how I am. I've experienced what I've experienced for a purpose of you know doing something in life to impact people. So I'm humbly traveling that path, just literally just doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
right.
And I think that everybody's just trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. So there's
Yes.
there's no room for for anything other than me just being on my path.
Mhm. Has your interest in watchmaking changed you as a person?
Um, my interest in watchmaking. What do you mean, like entrepreneurship as a whole, or?
Personally, are there some, has it made you look at things different? Has it made you look at life differently?
I definitely would say that it's kind of like slowed me down a little bit, right? Because um, when you're running a business, whether it's watchmaking or any sort of product that you're putting out into the world, there's so many things that you have to consider. So
Mhm,
I think it's definitely helped me become a more patient person,
Mm-hmm.
and also seeing, things 3, 4 steps ahead. Um, because that's essentially a necessary skill to have, when trying to produce a quality product. So, um, if I could just sum it up in one word, I would just say, like, patience.
So time has allowed you to be patient.
Yes.
That's what time does anyway, you know?
Yes.
Oh, such hard lessons that some of us have to learn myself.
There we go.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for our budding entrepreneurs?
Wow. I would say, don't be afraid to listen to yourself. Right. So we have, and this is not just spiritual, but this is science. We have two minds. We have two brains.
Right.
There's the brain up here, and then there's the brain in your abdominal, your gut. Right.
Right.
That
Yes.
that's the real brain. That's the all knowing. That's the one that's connected, to source or God or whatever, whatever you call it.
Hmm.
And that's the one that knows even when you don't know in your brain or body, right? Like, your gut, knows. And typically, a lot of guidance is there. Like, when we have an intention for life, or we have a purpose, like, and we set that desire, your gut is simply just trying to navigate you into the direction of that thing.
Hmm.
And when you listen to it, you can get there quickly. You can get there, smooth, maybe without hiccup. And then sometimes when you avoid it, like, you may still get there, but you created something else, or another obstacle, essentially, from not listening to that original path. So just imagine, um, your gut being a navigation, right? So say
Hmm.
you're driving your car, and your car is telling you to turn right,
Hmm.
and it's saying you got 15 minutes to get to your destination. If you don't turn right, isn't that destination, that time is going to go up, right? You
Right.
keep going straight, because now you got to go and make a U-turn and
Hmm.
come back to, like, where you originally were.
Hmm.
So, my biggest piece of advice is to, despite your current circumstance, despite where you found yourself because of a decision that you may have made in the past, listen to your gut, because that's the thing that's trying to guide you in the direction of the purpose that your life is supposed to be living. Like,
Hmm.
your life's purpose. Um, don't get caught up in what other people are doing. Right? Don't get caught up in what other people are saying, what's trendy, what the hype is. Drop into yourself and always listen to yourself.
Right.
Because when you don't, I'll give you the alternatives of what happens, right?
Right.
Because everybody can come up with an example of somebody that's like, oh, well, these people, were doing this, and they went and made this much money, or this person did this and they were able to do that. But what people don't see, and, like, what's under the surface, is like, this person may have this thing, but they may not be happy, or this person may have these things, but they may be losing it in like 2 years.
Hmm.
There's so many other factors, right? But what we're ultimately, trying to achieve is, like, peace of mind, like, joy. That's the reason that everybody on this earth is pursuing anything, is to achieve that feeling. And we're
Right.
constantly swapping it out for different things, different distractions, to achieve that, when we come here with the blueprint already, with, existing within us. So if you avoid, like, looking to the left or right, and
Hmm.
just, like, always go within for the things that you need, you'll find yourself, at a point where you're able to create this life that you could imagine, because all the answers are right there.
Hmm.
So never get distracted by what someone else has going on, what somebody else is doing, what somebody else is saying. Trust yourself, because you are connected, to the highest source.
Hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So I don't want to, I want to end on a lighter note. Um, some do's and don'ts of when a young man purchases his first expensive timepiece or his first timepiece? What are some
Mm.
do's and don'ts that they need to look out for?
Okay. Some do's would be to make your first timepiece a Benson watch, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes.
going to bensonwatch.com, because that would be an amazing first piece. And you get to connect with a person who's been in your shoes before, right?
Right.
Some don'ts would be, again, like, trying to borrow someone else's style. Like, if like, go for the piece that you gravitate towards. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of different rules, right? There's like, some watch enthusiasts would say that a dress watch should never have anything on the face of it other than like a black face, a navy blue face, or a white face. Um, I believe in knowing the rules, right? But then also deciding that you want to break them.
Mm,
You look at some of our pieces, some of our dress watches, like we have, purple, green, and pink on the face, and they're doing extremely well, because what it is it gives people a chance to express their, individuality and creativity. So, always be aware of, the laws of the land, within your industry, but never be afraid to break the rules.
okay. Thank you. Every man should have a what kind of watch should they have? Should they have a casual watch? Should they have a outstanding timepiece for the suit?
Mhm.
What should every man have in their watch collection?
I would definitely say every man should have a watch that's extremely versatile.
Okay.
Um, even though, like, I love playing with colors,
Mhm,
having a watch that's versatile, maybe like an all black piece that can be dressed up and look casual,
mhm,
would be a great first buy, because if you're looking at, like, like money, or you don't want to spend an arm and a leg on, a watch for each occasion.
mhm.
um, you want to start off with a piece that you can wear pretty much anywhere. So, um, definitely go. I would say go dark, um,
Sure.
and maybe monochromatic.
Okay. Um, what are some of your favorite pieces or your favorite collection so far, as far as Benson watch is concerned?
Yeah. So, one of my favorite pieces, definitely say, is the matte black Untitled. I'm trying to see if I have one.
Okay.
If I have one nearby, I probably don't. Um, yeah, I don't have one nearby, but
Okay.
it's the all black, all matte black, Untitled, and it's beautiful. I designed it so that it would be sleek, and it can be dressed up and down, and then it has like a little pop of color with the moon phase.
Okay.
Moon phase is the movement. It has the 29.5 like phases of the moon, and
Mhm,
it rotates, as the moon rotates, you know, daily. So,
mhm,
I would say that that's probably one of my favorites. Another one after that would have to be the Cardinal Emerald Green. There's just something that's, extremely luxurious and regal about gold against green.
mhm.
Like, green already kind of has a prosperity, um, you know, association to it. So, when you put that, you couple that with, with gold, rose gold,
Mhm,
it just looks really good. And there hasn't been a time that I've, worn that piece where I didn't get a compliment on it.
mhm.
I would say
Okay.
those two.
Okay. Now I just want to go back for 1 second, because did you learn about color during your apprenticeship, or where did you learn that from?
Well, that was more on the technical side. So, color was just really just me. I like, so what I did when I designed, like, I just nerded out on just everything. Right, it's so important to understand materials. It gets a lot deeper than just like, oh, I like that, what that looks like. The reason that people like things, it's usually a deeper reason. Like, the reason that people are drawn to certain, songs, or certain, beats or melodies, it's usually something deeper to it. So, like I said, I started looking at what colors mean. Like I started looking at like how certain colors make you feel,
Hmm.
and started kind of like matching them up with the overall like feel or goal of having an interaction with Benson would be. Like I always wanted to inspire, I always wanted people to feel like better or like have more confidence as a result of wearing one of our pieces.
Hmm.
So the color selection originated from there, and
Hmm.
then getting the exact coloring down really just came from testing different shades within that color palette.
Wow, there's so much that goes into
Mhm.
this, correct? Wow.
Yeah.
All right. How should watches be stored?
Watches should definitely be stored in a watch case or the watch box in which you purchased, the watch. With all of our pieces, these um, we have these bags, these like dust bags that come with them. So
Okay.
typically, like you can put the watch or you can put your bracelet, because
Okay.
we also design bracelets in that to just keep the dust off of it. And
Hmm.
then they also all come with a terry cloth, which allows you to to wipe it before and after each use,
Hmm.
to make sure that the watch maintains its shine for
Hmm.
years.
Crown up or crown down?
When you say crown up or crown down, what do you mean?
When taking off your watch to just let it sit.
Crown up on a quartz watch because you want that watch to keep ticking. You don't
Okay.
want the watch to like like lose time where you have to keep like resetting it. So I would definitely say down.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So that is our time. Thank you, Marcel. I want to encourage those who are listening or those who will catch up on the show at a later day and time that as you do your Christmas shopping, remember to shop Black and shop intentionally. Tell our listeners, Marcel, what is the best way to invest in your company?
The best way. So we actually recently did a fundraiser that has ended. So we're not currently taking any more investors, but we will open that back up. So if you are interested, you can always just shoot us an email at info@bensonwatch.com,
Mhm.
and we'll put you on our waiting list for when we do our next round. But if you wanted to get involved immediately, as far as getting a piece, you can head over to bensonwatch.com and get your first Benny, as we like to call it.
Your first Benny?
Yes.
I like that. I like that. One of our listeners said they learned something new as usual. So thank you so much for listening and for giving us I Change the Narrative some of your time. I'm so excited for you. Do you want to tell our listeners about your new move?
Yes. So for everybody out there, we were based in Lanham. We had a warehouse in Lanham that we were operating out of, a little smaller, and this new space that we're in has like a significant story and in a full circle moment attached to it. And I definitely want to share it to encourage anybody who's out there who may be going through a bit of a tough time. So um, I originally moved to LA in 2018, and I was for the first time running the business, like just kind of like um, remotely. At that time, we weren't even in a warehouse. We were just just kind of housing them in my home, and I was sending the pieces out as orders came in, which it wasn't a lot of, right? Um, and I was living with my girlfriend at the time. I moved out here for her, and staying in an apartment, and then we wind up separating, and I wound up moving into an apartment down the street on Hill Street, and I found myself in that apartment just kind of like for the first time, like just faced with myself, right? Like I didn't have anybody to kind of like uh, bear the brunt of what I was dealing with or whatever. So I'm at this point I'm a little over a year out of corporate, and I'm dealing with this decision that I made now, right? Like
Yeah.
money's not coming in every 2 weeks anymore. Um, there's no consistency. When things go wrong, they really hurt this time. Like I'm trying to pay the rent. Like there's all these things that are taking place. And I actually wound up having to move back home, not only for financial reasons, but also my dad got extremely sick. Like he developed, he had advanced Alzheimer's.
Mm.
So I go home. I'm trying to help out with the family, and there's just like a lot of hope is just being like just sucked out of me. I'm just like, I don't know how I'm gonna get this next inventory. Like I'm here back in the room that I grew up in. My dad's sick. Like the girl I thought I was gonna spend the rest of my life with is all these things, and you know, I remember like my brother was also at the house at the time, and we would every night we would have these talks on the balcony, and we would just pour into each other because we were both kind of going through a hard time, which hence why we were at my mom's house,
Right.
and just kind of like we would just just talk about what we wanted to do, and we encourage each other, and fast forward, he's done all those things that he said he wanted to do. He's bought a new beautiful home for himself. I moved back to LA. Um, you know, I live an amazing life, and also this warehouse is literally exactly next door to the apartment that I used to live in, owned,
Wow.
owned by the same people. And it's a testament because this wasn't even like where I had no idea I was going to be in this office space. When I came back, I was scouring LA. Everything was too expensive. Everything was just not in the price range that we wanted.
Right.
This place was not only under our budget, but they also allowed us to build it out. So that's why they renovated it exactly how we wanted it, and it's right next door to where I had the toughest times of my life. So every day that I walk into the office, into work, I'm reminded of like the amazing things that can happen and how much your life can turn around, in just a few years if you just stay the course and believe in yourself and wherever your spiritual source is. So so yeah, we're here now. We're laying the foundation and the groundwork for a lot of amazing memories to take place. And there'll be so many people that work here and go off and do better things with their life. And I truly believe that nothing that happens to you or in your life is by coincidence. It's typically like a deeper reason if you just stick around long enough to see it.
Because you're really humble, tell our listeners who you've partnered with and where your watches are being sold and things of that nature, because you're very, very humble and you're not giving yourself enough credit, I don't think.
No,
um
I mean, like I said, it's like things are what they are, right? Like,
mhm.
me screaming like that we're in Macy's, or like
Yes.
we partner with MGM, and
Mhm.
like we've given Kevin Hart's one of the watches, Carrie Hilson,
Mhm.
um, Nelly, JB Smooth, like all these celebrities. It doesn't change that these things have happened, right? So
Right.
these things have happened,
Mhm.
but and they're great. But I'm really like I said, I don't let things take me too high and low because I'm very focused on what my path is, which is continuing to inspire the masses to spend their time doing what they love at the highest level. So there's a lot of work, a lot of a lot further to go. Uh,
Mhm.
though I do appreciate it, right?
Mhm.
The when we get written about like top black watch company in New York Times, like top 25 watch companies to know in Town and Country magazine, like
Yeah.
we're on Price is Right, QVC. These
Mhm.
are all national, television opportunities. We're actually in the process of shooting, a reality show right now. Like these are major things that are taking place. But like I said, I just kind of move with the idea that there's so much more that needs to be done, and I express my gratitude daily. Uh,
Mhm.
but it's not something that I have to scream about
Right.
publicly. But
Right.
understand that the confidence is definitely there, and the belief in myself, and what we have going on is definitely there. But yeah, that's just kind of like my disposition. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people when they they start doing things like it's
Mhm.
they want to scream it out, and it's nothing.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way of doing things, but my philosophy is just that like I just like to continue, just continue moving, continue doing what I do.
And we thank you for your disposition. We appreciate that. So thank you again. Thank you for allowing me to showcase your story and for doing your part, Marcel, in changing the narrative. And lastly, for keeping your commitment by being a part of the show. That means so much to us.
Absolutely.
Um, if you've enjoyed this show, please let us know. We would love to shout you out and post your comments. If you or someone you know is changing the narrative, please contact us at iChangeTheNarrative@gmail.com. We would love to share your story. For I Change the Narrative merchandise, visit iChangeTheNarrative.org. Thank you again to our sponsors, So Organic, So Suave. You can follow Sauce on Instagram for the latest in product news and updates at sossd.co. Meet us here next Saturday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again, Marcel.
You're welcome. Thank you.